both now and going forward?
Well, thank you, Khulud. It's a very exciting and historical time for us in the health sector in Sudan. Historical because the health sector was the first sector to ever re-engage with the World Bank after 30 years of isolation. And for that, we are very much thankful to the technical teams in the World Bank for their great support. And also exciting because it really comes with new doors to new wide open horizons, and seeing such partnerships grow to the best of our people and for their best interest. The Sudanese revolution was a unique revolution. It was carried on the shoulders of its youth. Young ladies, young men racing to freedom, racing to a better future. That only necessitates that our public sector lives up to their aspirations. This cannot happen without investing in youth, invigorating the public sector, and making sure that we are attracting the young people to be the new face of our public sector. My own experience in creating and developing a young talent acquisition program for the restructured Global Health Directorate in the Federal Ministry of Health tells me that it is very much doable and it's very much successful. It was an endeavor that was successful in attracting young talents of 90% females, and they're now the heart and soul of this directorate. This is much doable, and it is a scalable model if it's further ratified and studied. The inequitable distribution of services across Sudan is a historical issue. It's a very standing, old issue. And if COVID taught us one thing, is that in order to adapt, you'll have to be resilient and accepting of new ideas. My own experience in leading a digitalization project from the health sector in Sudan tells me that now more than ever, we are more accepting to be virtually treated than we used to be back in 2016. It doesn't have to be sophisticated, it doesn't have to be high-tech. It could be our everyday regular bandwidth extended to the extremities to help our people in the extremities of this country. And in such challenged context, in a competing priorities, in a very strained economy, to address inequalities and decentralization, I do believe that digitalization is the answer to all of our problems. And COVID-19 was quite a thing. It was a very eye-opening experience for all of us, and it only redefined resilience to read as cooperation and solidarity. For a public sector that is walking out of 30 years of destruction, it only means that we need to really reinvigorate our public sector, and that only means that we'll have to strike a balance between having to address our urgent needs, but also strategically creating a public sector that is fit for purpose and that is strategically geared towards our 10 priorities of this transitional government. This needs and necessitates new mindsets, and it necessitates a fresh soul, and this could only translate into broadening the base of our partners and not only engaging new ones, but the meaningful engagement of the private sector with the public sector, of course, as well as our civil society organizations. Thank you, Khulud, for the opportunity, and I'm really grateful to be here.
Thank you very much, Amal. I think we can now turn back to Yusuf, give you the opportunity to...
Okay, perfect. Is it better now? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'll start and reflect on the first part that everybody spoke about, right? Through my work at Savannah, I've come to work with a lot of bright Sudanese, both entrepreneurs and creatives, and just looking at that ecosystem, you come to find that that ecosystem is as diverse as Sudan is, right? So when we speak about youth engagement, I think future change makers in Sudan should have a seat at the table to co-create the policies that are currently happening, right? Not just consulting the youth while trying to implement programs, but including them in the implementation process of these programs. Because if we're setting policies that are going to take Sudan into the future, and they're supposed to serve this community has to be actively involved in creating that. I mean, Sudanese youth have partook in a lot of Pan-African initiatives that have set forth the startup policy in Rwanda, the startup policy in Nigeria, and just recently in Nigeria, one of the communities that we're part of has ushered 2 unicorn company startups, right? In the digital payment sector. And these are billion-dollar startups. And that's not because they found aid from international organization or funding and subsidization from the government, but no, they found a truly supportive ecosystem from the government, right? They found a truly supportive ecosystem from the private sector. And this is what I'm here to call upon from the policymakers in the private sector in Sudan. Additionally, the fourth industrial revolution is here. People are speaking about autonomous cars. People are going to speak about autonomous agriculture and all of these things. The educational system in Sudan right now does not encourage any of that stuff. We can't eradicate the educational system that we have, but